Buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti. Questo è il terzo e ultimo appuntamento della serie di talk che abbiamo organizzato qui per voi alla Terrazza dell'Excelsior insieme a De Longhi, che ricordiamo è supporter ufficiale della Mostra Internazionale del Cinema di Venezia. Oggi è una giornata speciale perché insomma l'ospite che abbiamo, lo vedete già, è molto speciale. Jesse, benvenuto.
Grazie. Ciao.
Allora Jesse, noi abbiamo chiacchierato in questi giorni partendo proprio dal nostro claim che è is not perfect, is perfetto, della ricerca della perfezione, del fatto che soprattutto gli artisti e in qualche modo soprattutto gli artisti italiani abbiano questa ricerca quasi ossessiva della perfezione, ma che invece poi nelle sporcature, nei piccoli difetti, nelle irregolarità si nasconda proprio la parte di noi che ci appartiene di più, la parte in qualche modo più perfetta, no? Quella più autentica, più identitaria. Come ti relazioni tu con il concetto di perfezione?
Well, buongiorno ragazzi. Thank you for having me. We have a phrase in English called "Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good." So, while perfection is something, we call ourselves perfectionists. Sometimes people who let progress get in the way if it's not exactly right. And I think a lot of times I've found that I find satisfaction or perfection in my personal or professional life accidentally or just as a result of focus and precision and commitment. So it's really the journey that gets you to that destination, not an obsession with a result. In relationship and work, if you're too focused on the result, you'll miss the actual experience and probably not achieve that. So I think I find that that's a big part of how I work and live and love.
E ti ricordi allora un errore, un momento di distacco rispetto al percorso iniziale che invece poi si è rivelato importante, che si è rivelato anzi più prezioso dello schema, no? A cui ci si era affidati, cioè un errore che poi è diventato veramente perfetto?
I have, and a pretty embarrassing one that I've never told anybody, but I was a lead of a Broadway play. I did this play for about a year. It was a huge success. It was extended. It was sold out every night. And because it was so successful, Lincoln Center came to film the play, to put it in the archives, the National Archives. It's very prestigious, a lot of pressure. And in that performance, it's a live performance. They've got cameras everywhere. And theater, it's just for the people who are there. It's never on camera, really. So this day, they're going to film it and keep it forever. So the only way you can ever see the Broadway play that we did for almost a year is watching this one performance. So it's all on this one night. And this happens to everybody, but it happened to me that night. In the middle of a scene, I forgot my line. I froze. I lost the line, and then I got in my head about losing the line and messing it up on camera. And I'm ruining everything, and you have a whole crazy narrative happening in your head. And then I found it again, and we continued the play. And I was certain that I had ruined everything and that it was 4 minutes of silence and all these things. And afterwards, my scene partner assured me it wasn't that bad. And I got a lot of compliments that night on how it was an extra good performance. And later, they sent me the copy of the Lincoln Center performance. And that failure, that imperfection, that mistake actually cooked in all this extra tension and meaning in the moment. You could see the liveliness happening, and it actually turned out to be pretty cool and kind of a better performance. So I think that is a pretty good example of being able to pivot or use the energy from a mistake into something that turned out pretty well. Also, I'm just very lucky.
Possiamo soltanto immaginare quale sia la pressione a cui attori del calibro di Jesse sono poi sottoposti durante il loro lavoro, la tensione, la pressione da fuori, dal pubblico, dalle aspettative degli altri. Chissà se il caffè a questo punto può diventare un momento di stacco, di pausa, e chissà se, dato il tuo soggiorno in Italia, magari invece è un'abitudine quella di Prendersi una pausa, di mettere un attimo in stand-by e prendere un caffè con calma, spegnere un po' il rumore fuori, può essere diventata una tua abitudine.
Well, I think one thing that I absorbed in my time in Italy, we were filming my show Hotel Costiera for about 5 months last year, so I was all over the Amalfi Coast, Positano, Praiano, Amalfi, Argentario, Roma, Sperlunga, and I think in America we tend to drink the coffee for the result, to wake up. It's part of your routine, and I found that on set and with families and people here, having your espresso is also about who you're having it with and sipping it and taking your time and having the experience and being present in the moment more than just doing it to keep working. So it's a lot like, we say in America you live to work, and in Europe you work to live. So that's definitely something that's rubbed off on me that I appreciate about the experience, the role, like the culture of coffee in Italy.
Decisamente in Italia, se riusciamo a prenderci una pausa e fare 5 minuti più di vacanza, riusciamo a farlo tranquillamente. Forse anche per quello il caffè è diventato così un rito, è un rituale per noi. Allora ti chiedo prima di tutto come prendi il caffè? Caffè, cappuccino, corto, lungo?
I would like to say one way, like it's a cool answer to say this is how I have my coffee, but to be honest, it's a variety. It depends on how I'm feeling or what I had 2 cappuccinos this morning with a little cinnamon on top is how I like it. But I also, in the afternoon, I love an espresso, sometimes maybe a cafe latte, but it's either cappuccino or sometimes I have a black American coffee, just sometimes that's what I feel like. So it really does depend on how I'm feeling, where in the day it is, who I'm having it with. I'm not too dogmatic about it. I like to be whatever's authentic to the moment.
Il mio caffè perfetto, per esempio, è dopo pranzo con l'amica con cui devi fare il punto della giornata. Vorrei sapere qual è il tuo caffè perfetto.
Yeah, that is, I think, like between 3 and 4 o'clock, like the afternoon. That's also when I'm starting to be at the age where I like a good nap. I'm not embarrassed to say I love a nap if I can take one. But that mid-afternoon, especially starting to work, oftentimes I start to work in the dark, 5 a.m. And by 3, I could use a little, just to sit and slow down, have a little espresso in the mid-afternoon. That's really the good time. I don't need it in the morning. I have it in the morning, but I don't need it. But it is a nice reward in the afternoon.
Torniamo a parlare di recitazione. C'è un momento che ricordi e che riesci a identificare in cui hai capito che la tua strada sarebbe stata la recitazione, che tu saresti stato un attore?
I had no interest or idea about acting until I was almost 30 years old. I loved movies. One of my majors in university was filmmaking. I was shooting films, I was making films, but acting wasn't a real job. I'd never been around celebrities or people who were actors. I didn't know anything about it. I kind of bumped into it in making films, student films, and then kind of I love to write, I love to produce. I was a cinematographer, I love photography, I love to film. And then in trying to explain what I wanted, I was just like, let me do it, I'll show you. And that became fun. And when I was like in my early 20s, I had done a couple commercials just because I saw how much money they made. So it was a way to help my family. And then I realized, oh, this is doable, and this is a valuable part of the storytelling process. I think I always thought, just as a viewer, that the writers write the movie and you hire some people to do it. But I didn't really learn to appreciate that the actors are a huge part of telling the story, that every line that I say, I could say 17 different ways and give you 20 different meanings. And it's an invaluable role that contributes to the storytelling process. So I learned to have the utmost respect for the artistry much later in life. I didn't I think I started on grades when I was 29 years old. I was a public high school teacher, and I worked in law firms and bartended most of my life before then.
Se potessi prendere un caffè, visto che siamo nel Tempio, no? La Mostra Internazionale del Cinema di Venezia è un luogo che ha visto passare tantissimi attori, registi, star del cinema, personaggi che sono diventate poi nella storia del tuo mondo. Se tu potessi prendere un caffè con un idolo del passato o del presente, vivente e non vivente, ti lasciamo la terrazza, vi lasciamo un po' di intimità e potete prendere un caffè e chiacchierare. Chi potrebbe essere?
The first people that come to mind are not in film, they're more in literature, which is a place where a lot of films are born from, right? We don't have a career without writers, without great writers and great thinkers. So I think of two authors, James Baldwin, who spent a great deal of his time and his life in Europe, and Toni Morrison. Two incredible thinkers who found really creative, deep ways in which to humanize characters and tell stories that I think are invaluable and that are challenging, not easy to absorb always. There's a lot of value in easily accessible stories, a lot of value. I think that what we do, I think some people sometimes dismiss, Hollywood is not a real job. I think what we do is definitely a real job. I think it's really important and is the lens through which people see the world. That said, I really enjoy artists that let me come to the work and don't just hand me the whole story and that make it super accessible. I like to participate in that way and talk with my friends and my family about it and disagree and interpret something totally different than you did and just be a more active participant in the art. So yeah, those are two geniuses that I would love to have a coffee with.
E allora, visto che ne vediamo passare tantissimi anche in questi giorni sul red carpet, c'è un regista con cui invece ti piacerebbe lavorare e ancora non sei arrivato a concretizzare un progetto insieme?
Absolutely. So many. I just met Scorsese at Taormina Film Festival where we were presenting Hotel Costiera. I would love to work with him, Paul Thomas Anderson, Jordan Peele, Alfonso Cuarón. There are many. Yeah. Noah Baumbach. And I am definitely very interested in staying and spending more time in Italy and working with Italian filmmakers. You are the godfather country of cinema. This is where we studied this. We all studied Italian films in film school, and I have a lot of the utmost respect for that. So I definitely would love to work with Italian filmmakers.
Il lavoro che tu fai, soprattutto il lavoro di set, ma quindi il lavoro con i tuoi colleghi, con i registi e poi anche con il pubblico, è un lavoro corale, collettivo. Qual è la qualità che apprezzi di più nelle persone che lavorano insieme a te? Qual è quella qualità che ti è quasi necessaria per dire questo è un lavoro che farò con gioia, con il cuore felice, ecco?
That's absolutely right. Filmmaking is a hugely collective experience. Most of the time, the actors get all the credit, but you need everybody. Gaffers, electric, director, writer, hair, makeup, locations. There's so many people that have to do their job at such a high level for us to be able to be successful. So, and that's one of my favorite parts about filmmaking is working with people and having success together. The key quality I look for in people, and this is for personal relationships and professional, is curiosity. Are you curious? Do you have questions? Are you thoughtful and not limited in your interest and ability to think? It's a big world. There's a lot of ways to approach the very same thing, and being closed-minded doesn't allow us to grow in any way. So curiosity is up there with kindness.
È bellissimo pensare a una forma di curiosità con gentilezza, cioè essere affamati nel proprio lavoro, ma riuscire a essere comunque comodi, no? nella nei ritmi, nelle personalità degli altri. Bellissimo. Jessie, ti facciamo un'ultima domanda che abbiamo fatto anche ai nostri precedenti ospiti. Ora che sei un attore affermato, riconosciuto in tutto il mondo, amato dal pubblico, dalla critica, c'è un consiglio che ti sentiresti di dare invece al Jessie che ha appena iniziato, quindi al te, abbiamo detto non giovanissimissimo, però comunque al Jessie delle prime armi?
For myself specifically, other people didn't struggle with this, but it would be to not hold on to fear. I think I certainly had I grew up very poor and had issues with money and being scared of being insecure and unsafe, and it affects your level of freedom and feeling comfortable in the world and making decisions that are risky. So I would encourage my younger self to follow what I love, with a freedom and kind of recklessness that I didn't have at that age. Youth is a great time to make mistakes. Yeah, I think I could have used that advice back then.
Ci sono anche delle domande dal pubblico, quindi facciamo passare un microfono.
Okay, hi, ciao, Jessie.
ciao.
I'm Annie Carpenter from German television. So coming to Italy, I know what I love about Italy. So what do you love about Italy? I mean, you already said drinking the coffee is special, filmmaking is special, but what is the best about Italy for you?
La familia. I think the role that family plays in Italian culture is wonderful and a great contrast to maybe some patterns in the country that I am from, but has also a lot of similarities to how I grew up. I think in Black America, family is very important, and it was really heartwarming in my experience here to see how the relationship that everyone maintains with their elders, with the babies, the role that the kitchen, the living room plays in your house, that you spend quality time with your family, you don't throw them away as they get older. It's a beautiful thing, and it's not just cosmetic. You see it reflected in day-to-day life, and it's real. This world changes very quickly in its obsession with money and status and materials, and it's nice to see old traditions and old culture hang on and be protected.
Ciao Jessie, io sono Veronica e faccio parte di una giovane giuria di ragazzi qui al festival e io avrei due domande. La prima è se c'è un genere cinematografico di film nel quale ancora non hai mai lavorato ma con il quale ti piacerebbe sperimentare, e la seconda è quanti caffè ti servono prima di imparare un copione.
Great questions, Veronica. Grazie, piacere. Comedy. I've done pieces of comedy in Only Murders in the Building and certainly in Hotel Costiera, but a straight comedic role in a comedy would be a lot of fun. I think so much of my real life and political life and then acting life I surround myself with a lot of serious issues, and I think I have, to some degree, a serious reputation around, but I also really love to relax and be funny, and I appreciate the art of comedy writing. It's very complicated and much harder than it looks. So comedy is a genre I'd really love to play with. Comedy and action. Another reason why I love Hotel Costiera so much, I get to do both. And for reading and working on scripts, for me it's more about the time of day. I've learned that I can't do that at night because I'll fall asleep. I like to have my scripts printed on paper, not staring at a screen, and have a nice espresso or something early in the morning. And that's when I'm my most creative, kind of before noon, wake up, quiet, before the kids wake up, which is very hard to do, and sit outside and just, have something nice and read through the pages. So I would say one or two.
Quindi quello che dobbiamo fare ora è convincere Martin Scorsese a fare una commedia e poi siamo tranquilli. Grazie mille Jessie, thank you so much.
Grazie a te, grazie a voi.
Much.